Our next session is about turning ideas into impact. Isn't that such a powerful statement? Let's welcome Lori Rosenkopf, Vice Dean of Entrepreneurship and the Simon and Midge Paley Professor of Management. By the way, check out her new book, Unstoppable Entrepreneurs: 7 Paths for Unleashing Successful Startups and Creating Value Through Innovation. The first 20 people, remember I told you about a special prize. So the first 20 people to post about the session on social media using that hashtag Wharton Forum will receive a complimentary copy. I'm seeing people pulling out their phones. Just visit the Wharton booth and show your post. Lori will be joined by Amy Errett. I was chatting with her backstage. She's fascinating. I can't wait to hear what insights she'll be sharing. She's the founder of Madison Reed, who's transformed the hair color segment and is actually featured in Lori's book as an entrepreneurial disruptor. The stage is yours, ladies.
Wow, it's great to be here. Thanks for all coming back from lunch on time because you're in for a real treat. I've gotten to know Amy over a 10-year period where she's been the most incredible host to so many of our student groups who are visiting, always willing to say yes when we are doing a class and coming in on video. And I finally get to share the big stage with you. So this is my fangirl moment with Amy. So thrilled to be here. And as you heard, Amy is featured in my new book, Unstoppable Entrepreneurs, which really celebrates the Wharton and Penn narrative around entrepreneurship, which is a little different from the straight-up West Coast one. But I think Amy is the best of both worlds. So let's jump right in, Amy. One of the things that we talk about in the book is what's the reason for doing what you're doing entrepreneurially? And there are some entrepreneurs who build their businesses around long-time passions, but certainly you weren't an 8-year-old girl saying, I want to become, have a hair color empire, right? You probably didn't imagine yourself as CEO and founder of an omni-channel hair color company at that point, but you wanted to be a disruptor. And I'd like you to share with the audience how your set of experiences as a serial entrepreneur and also as an investor really led you to recognize this opportunity.
Great. So first, thank you for having me. It's always great to be supporting Wharton as well, so I'm honored to be here. You are absolutely correct, and I knew nothing about hair color. Now, if any of you use the product, don't be scared that I just said that, because through a 11-year journey, I've learned a ton about hair color. But here's what I did know. As you are correct, I was a 3-time entrepreneur. Then I was a VC for about 7 years full-time, only doing consumer investments. I opened and ran the venture firm Mavron, Seattle-based Howard Schultz, in the Bay Area. So we were an early-stage consumer investor. And one of the interesting parts that I tell in the story is that I passed on this investment that some of you might have known called Dollar Shave Club. Mike Dubin, the founder, is now on Madison Reed's board, so we like each other. But I was intrigued by the business model. And at that time, the business model was really about taking a consumer product and skipping a shelf and actually bringing it directly to consumers. And the concept of contract manufacturing, which is very important in this story, has virtually allowed, as you see in mattress companies or supplement companies that are online, it's virtually allowed people like me who didn't know a lot about hair color to go out and find people that do know a lot about hair color and then get basically your differentiation. So I was intrigued by Mike's business model. What happens in every venture fund is that sometimes some partners want to do a deal and sometimes some don't. There have been plenty that I wanted to do that didn't have great outcomes, and this one I wanted to do, and it had a great outcome, and we didn't do it. That's okay. That's the way it goes. And so I was intrigued, and I had a summer intern who worked for me, GSB grad, don't get mad, who I said, why don't you go do a scan of the analog to shaving for women's products? And I was blown away by the size of the hair color market. Like blown away. And I knew from being a VC that there were 3 things that were important. 1, product differentiation. Hold that one for a second. 2, could technology play a role in this? And number 3, could the business model be this one thing that really hurts D2C companies, which is no repetition of purchase pattern? And so it had to be a product where the usage was consumable, goes away. In our case, you get a box of our hair color on the side of the at-home market, and it's done. So I knew that it had a repetitive price point that could just be put on subscription. And so I looked at it, and I thought initially, let me find some smart people who are motivated to do this, and I'll incubate it. And as I looked at the size of the prize, I just couldn't not do it. And so I decided to not be a VC anymore, raise some money, and away we are 11 years later in a much more complex omni-channel business that I can describe. Yes. But the most important part of this story was the product innovation. We have the lowest chemical profile. When I looked at hair color, it was highly toxic, and nobody was focusing on that. So once I figured out we could make that, then I surrounded myself with experts who were stylists or people that formulated hair color. And then the technology piece was something that 11 years ago, this thing called AI didn't exist, but machine learning did. And so we had a very sophisticated machine learning algorithm where you answered 18 questions, and we predicted what color you should purchase. NPS very high, replenishment very high, CSAT very high. So I realized then we had a business model.
Well, I know that you have the heart of an operator and are so much happier on that side rather than as an investor. But you saw this pattern loud and clear. But from the way I understand your story, at first you struggled to get investors as excited about women's hair color as they were about men's shaving cream.
Yes. And that continues. That's not, I mean, the business has grown, we're profitable, it's a large business in the sense of startups now. But what you find in the investor sector, and you might be investors out there, so this isn't, I was one of those folks full-time, is that most of the time you invest in things you can relate to, or not, or make sense to you. Well, for most guys, hair color doesn't make a lot of sense to them. And so this was a lot of just like looking at me like, Amy, I was getting text, I think I've told you the story, I still have them. So when the company goes public, I'd like to text back these various people. But, and say something like the following, which is, you didn't get it, you didn't see it, I still love you, here's a bottle of Dom on me. So that's okay, that's good. I think good entrepreneurs are competitive, and they want to win. And if you know me, I really want to win. And so they couldn't relate to it. Right. And so what I urged them to do was go check their Visa bill. Because if they were, you know, had a partner, a wife, a mom, a cousin, a sister, they will see how much money women spend a year in coloring their hair. So over time, it got easier, but I would not say that we were the easiest story to fund, but we've raised a good amount of money, and that's all worked out.
Absolutely. So tell us more about your journey from pure play D2C company to wholesaler and then color bar operator, and then throw in a little bit about how being omni-channel has really helped boost your growth.
So Lori is correct. The initial part of the business was solely a D2C model. So the model was you come in, you take this 18-question quiz, we tell you the 3 recommended shades that would work for you, you purchase them either on a single box or you subscribe. And what we saw very quickly was that worked. So what I say about entrepreneurs is we may not know the future, but we can sort of smell the money. Or as I call it, the trickle of water of what's working and what's not working. Because the what's not working is as important often as what is working in the pattern recognition of what you do, what you double down, and what you just stop doing and say the following to yourself and everybody else. And a colleague of mine who's more like a co-founder, Maureen Watson, is in the audience, who is our chief product officer. And the other thing I'd say is anybody that runs one of these businesses knows that you can't do this without an amazing team. So just a little thank you to Maureen. I don't know why she's here. It's Friday. She should be working, but that's okay. So love you, Maureen, wherever you are. So what was clear was the model was working. So I knew that we had high retention, high purchase pattern, high net promoter score. Maureen will laugh at part of the story because, again, sometimes what gets presented in front of you in the synchronicity, you can actually convince yourself it's not something you should do. So the other thing I want to tell people that, yes, great business model, there is luck. So if anyone ever says to you that it's just always hard work, sometimes it's timing and luck. And it is also intuition. So data and intuition need to go together with entrepreneurs. It's not all data and it's not all gut, but those two things. So some of you might know my voice from radio. And I've done the radio commercials forever because Madison Reed is my daughter. That's her first and middle name. So the company is an emotional story about naming after her. And I get on the radio, and everyone thought we were crazy about that, too, because it's old school. And meanwhile, it kind of put the company from a brand perspective on the map. And one day, who was then the president of Ulta Beauty was driving to work and heard my radio commercial and proceeded to continue to hear it till he finally went to his head merchant and said, "Do we have that hair color that's named after a founder's daughter?" He had no idea what it was, but he remembered that. They called us. Maureen used to be the head merchant at Sephora. And so my response was, we're not on people's shelves. And Maureen looked at me and said, "You're crazy, we're going to Chicago to visit with them." And we left with close to 500 stores in a test. And today we're the largest hair color in Ulta. By far, we pretty much, and it's a wonderful partnership, and we are the largest at Ulta.com. And so it's a meaningful relationship. So that established the wholesale channel, of which now we are in 1,600 Walmart, selected Target stores, Sally's Beauty. So that has become a big business for us. And what I will tell you the statistic in a second, but the second part of this is, so the market bifurcates. 50% of women do their hair at home. That's our box business, e-commerce and other people's shelves, and Amazon. And 50% go to a salon because they prefer somebody else to do it. So I was in a board meeting about maybe 6 months after we went into Ulta, and I said to the board, this weird thing keeps happening. Stylists keep calling me, asking me if they could buy tubes of our color. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, why would a stylist call about box color? Come to realize that a lot of our customers were buying the box and taking to their stylist for the stylist to apply it. And so then I started talking to stylists, and the stylist was like, "It's some of the best hair color we've ever had, and the low chemical profile. It has an 8-free formula, doesn't smell, doesn't sting, doesn't burn. Customers love it. How many shades do you have?" At that time, I think we had like 40. Today, we have close to 100. And I said to the board, "It's really weird, but I kind of think that we could just put it on people's hair." They just sort of looked at me like, there she goes again, nuts. And so I convinced them to give $75,000. We opened a pop-up in New York in the Flatiron just as an experiment. In 5 weeks, we were totally full, and we spent $29,000 in advertising. That was it.
Wow.
And I was like, I smell money. And so we called them hair color bars, where we use the same color that we sell, a prestige hair color that doesn't exist anywhere else, and we apply the hair color for our customers on primarily a membership model, so it's subscription as well. That looks like our D2C business and our e-commerce business, and we have 100 of them now throughout the country, about 15 different regions. And then here's the long-winded answer to what you were looking at.
Oh, it's fine.
From an omni-channel perspective, where we have more than 2 stores in a region, those Ultas and those Walmarts do 30% better. And here's what doesn't make sense about that. Ulta and Walmart are selling the box to that 50% of the market that does it at home. Our stores are actually emulating the salon goer. So on the surface, it looks like what two things don't go together. But what does go together is brand efficacy. What does go together is that if you are a challenger brand like us, every single day, you need to show up at places that people see you efficaciously, and you have to get in front of people, and you have to realize every touch point matters, every brand moment matters. Those 100 stores are 100 full-time marketing billboards for this company from a lifestyle standpoint. So, yeah, omnichannel.
Some of the discussion this morning about AI was about it's not just tech, it's the management piece. And I'm really struck by how intentional you've been in developing your company culture and your values. I can't recite the values of many companies, but Madison Reed's are love, trust, responsibility, joy, courage. Is that it? 5? All right, there we go.
You're hired.
Thank you. Tell us whether your attention to this matter was a result of your hard-lived experiences over your earlier career, where company cultures are weak or even icky, or
Toxic. Oh.
Well, yeah, that's another good word. And how does this approach translate into competitive advantage for you?
So, I appreciate you bringing this up because for many people, maybe in the audience, they think this is the soft skill stuff, the frivolous stuff. Mm-hmm. And for all of you that work in companies, are companies, entrepreneur-started companies, there's only one variable that actually matters the most, and it's called people. So I've seen, as a VC, very good, solid business plans with rock star teams win, and I've seen amazing business plans with toxic cultures lose. So for me, there were 2 reasons why we had those 5 values before we had a tube of color. And the reason was, number 1, I learned very early in my career, coming out of Wharton, that I'm really bad at working for other people. Now, yes, it's humorous, but not so much. Because what it showed me was finding my genius, the thing that kind of comes through me that's just, like, it's hard to explain. It's not hard, it's just intuitive. Is the fact that I like putting groups of people together and creating magic in places that nobody sees it. That's just what I like to do in life. So having a culture that was intentional was a very important factor because our product isn't just about the product. Yes, it has to work on people's hair. Remember, I have 1,000 people in stores. They are the product. They represent Madison Reed every single day a lot more than anything I could say on the radio. And so if they believe in our culture, if they act in those 5 ways, if they hold themselves accountable and we reward them for those behaviors and they know those behaviors, that is a winning formula for us in stores and for our team in HQ. So early on, we just have done funny, weird things with the culture. There's lots of what I would call traditions that we've done. I have lunch with the company at 12:15 on Wednesday Pacific time every single week, no matter where I am in the world. Now, one would think, well, that's weird. And the answer is, it's not weird. What is it saying? It's saying that leadership cares enough to show up and tell you what's happening in the company every step of the way. Value shout-outs, announcing new people, putting balloons on Zoom, announcing, and this is, sometimes people are like, are you crazy? I actually announce every person that's leaving. And I give them a chance to say something, because what I learned in toxic cultures was that just thing where, you know, the email went out and somebody, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. What I've come to realize is every person that currently and in the past has worked for Madison Reed is part of the story. We stand on the shoulders of each other. So somebody who was here 5 years ago contributed, and we're all benefiting from this, and the people that are here today, we're benefiting going forward. So it's a very strong culture. It's a meaningful culture. That's one of a number of crazy things I do. I have coffee with Amy every Friday at 9 o'clock and pose a life question, and tons of people come on Zoom, and it's more about getting to know each other. And I am a stickler for leaders doing the same thing with their teams. And the last thing I'll say is the average hair colorist in the US makes less than $40,000 a year. They come out of cosmetology school, $25,000 in debt. We are all Wharton grads, do the math. Mm-hmm. Can't work. Life of poverty, life of not being able to make ends meet, mostly women of color with kids. So at the end of the day, this kind of culture is so meaningful for changing their lives The best moments of my job is when I get a Slack. I get about 1,000 of them a minute. But I get Slacks every day that say to me from the stylist, Amy, you told me if I just worked hard, good things would happen. I just bought my first house.
Wow.
So when I think about a company that can do great things for their guests with great ingredients and do great things for their team, I just, you know, to me, that makes it worthwhile.
I love that. So let's push a little further on culture and values and team. You played for UConn women's basketball way back when, right? Or I shouldn't have said way back when. I'm sorry. You were on the team.
Way, way back when. You didn't put the enough ways. And it was a very short-lived period of time, and I sat on the bench, and I was short. So there you go. However,
Yes.
I am still very close to the program and blah, blah, blah.
Well, and go Huskies.
Go Huskies.
What you did recently, you're continually extending your product line, and you have a new product line called Color Wonder, which is
Yes.
for younger women. You
Yes.
started off thinking about the 95% of women over 35 who color their hair, but you created a campaign with UConn women's basketball to take advantage of the name, image, likeness stuff that's going
Yes.
on now. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So the thesis of Madison Reed is empowerment. And we have a saying that confident is the new beautiful. That is our tagline. And that translates to any age that anybody is. It's gender neutral. In our case, the majority of our customers identify with being women. Every man in here, please use us. We have a men's product that's a shameless plug, but we do. And so the interesting part was being an athlete, somebody that, you know, played basketball, I played ice hockey, I played a lot of things. The correlation for me of my confidence and working hard came from sports. There are statistics that would tell you that 85% of women in a C-suite started as an athlete. So for those of you that have daughters in this audience, it's not the only path, but it is a path where women find a certain amount of confidence, commitment, discipline, accountability, and team orientation. And so what became really easy for us was to say, okay, we want to appeal to a younger generation. We like this ignition point happening in women's basketball. Thank you, Caitlin Clark, who really started not... You know, we've been playing basketball, as Serena Williams said on the ESPYs. We've actually been playing sports for 100 years. But in the last couple of years, the WNBA, or college women's basketball, is starting to get what it deserves, the attention. And so I said, I had this crazy idea. I said, what would happen if we put our name on the UConn basketball court? And so we're the first female-founded company that has named a basketball court. The men play on it too. Yay. You know, last couple of years, we've had some good fortune of 2 men's national championships and a recent women's championship. So TV awareness has been high. We've run radio commercials, we've run TV ads. And then in addition, we have a partnership, NIL deal with Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd and a couple of other of the UConn players. And so we have learned what NIL is. And so what we learned is that both focusing on the school and rewarding the school aligned the goals with the athletes, and rewarding the athletes was important. So it's been extremely successful for us. We're looking to do more about women's sports. You'll see us announce a couple more things this year. But it's just metaphoric for a different way to advertise that wasn't same old, same old.
Let me ask you one more question, and then we'll close with what's next for Madison Reed. But
Sure.
I want to talk about resilience, right? The title of the book is Unstoppable Entrepreneurs. They walked us out to see us unstoppable. COVID presented both incredible opportunities for you, but also pretty significant threats. So everyone suddenly wants a box of hair color, but at the same time, you have to close your color bars. Just tell us a little bit more about how that tested you.
Yeah. So the first comment I'd make is, as an investor, the one ingredient I always looked for in somebody I would back is that one thing called resilience. Mm-hmm. Because this 11 years has been a joyous ride and an impossible ride, right? So everything I just told you all sounds great, and it is. And there's been a lot of moments at 8 o'clock this morning, there was a lot of things that I was like, are you kidding me? Right? So the are you kidding me is part of the ride. And, COVID was first an unbelievably disruptive, hard life event for everybody in the world. We had at that time maybe 200 team members, lots of them. We had very few stores, so we got very lucky. If COVID happened today, 100 stores is really different than the 6 that were at scale and the 8 we had, right? So it was different, but it was a lot of people still. But our box business went nuts. As I said, like our servers had smoke coming out of them. We were selling a box of hair color every 5 seconds for months. And we make our hair color in Italy. So, on one hand, great fortune. On the other hand, keeping hair color coming from Italy in the Lombardy region, which is the second hit region next to Wuhan, was extremely challenging. We worked with our partners and made hand sanitizer for the Italian government so they would keep us open. And so the resilience of what did Monday bring, what does Tuesday bring, what did Thursday bring, and at the same time, having this lens of people are really scared. Our teams were anxious, we were all anxious, and our guests were anxious. So having some empathy for what people are going through. The one thing we did do was we took everyone that worked in the stores, and in one weekend, we trained them to move to our call center because we had so many e-commerce customers that needed to ask questions because they had never colored their hair at home before, that it was like, moving 100 people and buying every Chromebook in the Bay Area. Best Buy loved us. And headsets, and then training people over a weekend about how to answer the phone, how to answer questions technically. So in retrospect, it looks like, well, geez, the company doubled in a year and blah, blah, blah. I also knew it was a false read. So the first thing that I'll tell you, when my board was jumping up and down and being happy that the dudes had funded a hot hair color company now, see how that works? I kept saying to them, don't get used to this, because as soon as she can leave the house, she's not going to buy our box anymore. And that's when we throttled stores. And every private equity firm that wanted to give us money wouldn't give us money at the end because they told me, quote unquote, we want to give you hundreds of millions of dollars right now, but you have to promise to open no more stores. Retail's dead. And I said, no. And so we throttled, we took leases at rates that we couldn't have afforded before. We just, and there's still been a set of lots of issues we still need to figure out. But I think bottom line, I learned this as an investor and I've learned it as an entrepreneur. Don't go where everybody else goes. Right. Go the opposite. That's why I love hair color, because on the surface, nobody apparently cares as an investor. But guess what? Every woman in this audience cares.
So let's close with what's next for Madison Reed. But I have to say something important. I heard you say something really interesting at the beginning. Every time we're together, I ask you what's next for Madison Reed, and you always say something to the effect of, I'm just enjoying the ride and everything's awesome and we're finally profitable. But today, I heard you say, when we go public. So I hope I haven't given away something, but it came out of your mouth first. So what is next for Madison Reed?
Are my IR people in the room? No. No.
Chatham rules, Wharton folks.
No. Here's what's next. We are growing rapidly. We're profitable now. That took a lot.
Right.
Of when you're opening 100 of your own stores with capital, it takes a while to catch up. But we are profitable. We're going to go globally. That's a big deal for us. I can't say more than that. We are very significantly looking at franchising. We will continue to open our own regions where we own 15 to 16 regions and are going to fortress them because it really works for us. But that leaves a ton of this country open, and we're inundated with franchise. It's a very good franchise model, right? Like the money in and how much you make and the EBITDA and the cash flow are quite compelling. So we're looking at that. And AI is a big part of our business about prediction, personalization, matching labor hours with chair utilization and demand coming into stores. It is the bane of the existence of anybody that's in the services business. We use AI, and I think it's given us an unfair advantage. And then the last thing that I'll share with you is this. I'd like nothing more for every woman in this room who has been turned down by somebody, who hasn't felt like they have been given the right opportunities to be ringing that bell. You know, for a story of a company that nobody cared about hair color. So you can all do it. If I can do it, if this company can do it at some point, you can do it. So no secrets there. This company will have a big outcome. I don't care how long it takes, how much it takes, what it takes. I'm going to bring this thing over a goal line.
Truly, truly unstoppable. I'm one of your biggest fans, and I look forward to everything that is in the future, both for Madison Reed, for you, your family, the whole community that you've been supporting. So thank you so much.
Thank you.